we welcome you all after the lunch break. Today, we welcome you all with our heartfelt gratitude on the occasion of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the Social Studies Foundation, in collaboration with Department of Commerce, University of Delhi, Delhi School of Economics, Department of Political Science, Shama Prasad Mukherjee College, University of Delhi, sponsored by ICHR, has organized the National Seminar on Marginalization and Inclusion, Role of Marginalized Communities in India's Struggle for Freedom. We are going to begin this session on unsung Viranganas in India's struggle for freedom. So here I would like to invite our chair for today, Professor Subhash Anandji. Do we have? Now, I would like to invite our co-chair for the session, Srimati Preeta Hariji. Now I would like to start our session with our first paper. I welcome Mr. Chandan Kumar to present the paper. I guess he is not here. Now I would like to invite Sanjana Pilawat and Bindu Karanwal.
Hello everyone. First of all, I would like to thank ICSSR, esteemed guests, and Delhi University for providing me with the opportunity to speak on the unsung Viranganas. My name is Sanjana Plawat. I am a PhD research scholar. I am doing PhD under the guidance of Dr. Bindu Kanwal ma'am at Shambhu Dayal College, Ghaziabad, affiliated to Chaudhry Charan Singh University. The title of my paper is Durgavati Devi, the unsung heroine of India's freedom struggle. India completes its 75 years of independence in 2022. While the major names that were a part of India's freedom struggle are alive in the memory of the public, there are many unsung heroes belonging to marginalized or unconventional communities that are never heard of or whose stories have faded from the memories of the public. Durgavati Devi is one such forgotten heroine. Her status of being a woman might be the reason why she remained in the background of the history books till now, only serving as a supporting role. In fact, Durgavati Devi is an indispensable part of India's freedom struggle. She was called the Agni of India as she was the fueling fire behind India's freedom struggle. She had tremendous influence on revolutionaries such as Bhagat Singh, Ashfaqullah, and Chandrasekhar Azad. She was a type of hero who remained low-key despite contributing to help India get rid of the colonial rule by the British Empire. Durgavati Devi was the wife of the revolutionary Bhagwati Charan Vora, and thus it is no wonder that the social and political activities of her husband had a lot of influence on her life. Bhagwati Charan Vora was a great Indian Marxist revolutionary. Like his wife, Bhagwati Charan Vora too is an unsung hero in India's freedom struggle history. When Satyagraha movement was blooming at a fast rate in the 1920s in India, Vora became an active member of it and participated in it with full zeal. He was a student at Lahore National College It was during this time that he became acquainted with Sukhdev, Bhagat Singh and Yashpal. The study circle was largely inspired by the Russian Socialist Revolution. Vora, along with his friends, moved on to form Naujawan Bharat Sabha, which aimed to encourage the youth of India to join the movement of India's freedom struggle. Both Vora and Durga Bhabhi were very much against any kind of caste or religion prejudices. They worked together for the upliftment of both Hindus and Muslims equally, and also helped the poor by practicing their socialist principles. Vora was linked with Hindustan Socialist Republican Association (HSRA). Along with Vora, Durgavati Devi worked arduously toward the goal of helping India toward achieving independence and freedom from the colonial rule. She majorly rose to prominence when Naujawan Bharat Sabha observed Kartar Singh Sarabha's 11th martyrdom anniversary in Lahore in 1926. The Tribune described the ceremony as such. On the Shahidi Divas, a life-size portrait of Sarabha prepared by two ladies with their blood was unveiled. One of the ladies was Durgavati Devi and the other Sushila Devi, Professor Vora's sister. When Bhagat Singh finished his speech dedicated to Chandi and pledged to oust the Firangis by means of an armed struggle, Durga Bhabhi got up and put a tilak on Bhagat Singh's forehead, blessed him and wished him success for his mission. As a member of the Hindustan Republican Association, she worked with the zeal of a missionary, a meticulous planner. Her plans never failed. In the later part of the 1920s, Durgavati Devi became an active member of HSRA, taking part in almost every revolutionary activity of the association. All the schemes of HSRA passed under the keen eye of Durgavati Devi. Along with being a part of the revolutionary activities, she also performed her duties as a wife and a mother in personal life diligently. In this manner, Durgavati Devi is an epitome of real Mother India figure who has a fiery spirit along with performing a nurturing role. Her fiery spirit resulted in her being called as the Agni of India. She also learned to shoot and make bombs along with her husband, further adding to the burning passion of India's freedom. She was the brain behind the schemes of HSRA and also performed the task of delivering ammunition and weapons to the revolutionaries. The weapons for the association were procured by Durga. She was an independent thinker and revolutionary and was not always dependent on the guidance of her husband. When Bhagwati Charan left to attend Indian National Congress annual meeting at Kolkata in 1928, she became the in charge of the revolutionary activities in his absence. In 1928, Simon Commission visited Lahore. Famous freedom fighter Lala Lajpat Rai led a peaceful protest to revolt against the Simon Commission. But the police leashed violence on the group of the protesters on the orders of the police superintendent James A. Scott, and the group of the protesters was lathi charged. Rai was beaten severely during this violence and suffered serious injuries, leading to his death few days later. This infuriated Indian freedom fighters, and Bhagat Singh took the oath to avenge the death of Lala Lajpat Rai by joining hands with Rajguru, Sukhdev, Chandrasekhar Azad and other young revolutionaries. Along with being party to killing of J.P. Saunders, both Vora and Durgavati Devi were also involved in the bombing of the Central Assembly Hall in 1929. When Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Rajguru assassinated John P. Saunders, the Assistant Superintendent of Police in 1928, there was a huge tumult in the British Empire and police raids were organized at every nook and corner to trace Bhagat Singh and his aides in the assassination. This was the moment when Durga Bhabhi was the one who helped the trio to escape the claws of the colonial regime. She did not hesitate for a minute to help Bhagat Singh. She was undaunted in her approach and decided to accompany him to help him escape Lahore. She did not just help Bhagat Singh financially, but also had the courage to accompany him on the journey posing as his wife. It was a very bold decision on the side of Durga Bhabhi considering the social conventions at that time, because it was considered inappropriate and unrespectful for unmarried people to have any contact. She could lose her life or respect, but she chose to help revolutionaries because for her, the dream of India's independence was bigger than her respect and life. She was a mother to a young son, but she dreamt of a free India in which her son could breathe freely, and that vision was only possible if she helped these revolutionaries. Durga Bhabhi took her little 3-year-old son with her and pretended to be the wife of Bhagat Singh on the train journey. In the similar fashion, Chandrasekhar Azad also escaped from the clutches of British intelligence in Lahore with Sukhdev's sister and mother. Upon her arrival in Calcutta with Bhagat Singh, Bhagwati Charan Vora was surprised by the courageous role played by his wife in the escape of the revolutionaries. Thus, Durga Bhabhi possessed the mind to react calmly and judiciously at the situations of emergency, and a sharp brain helped her and other revolutionaries to escape dangerous situations at various times. Bhagat Singh went incognito in Calcutta and attended Indian National Congress session with Bhagwati Charan Vora and Durgavati Devi, a feat which would have been impossible without the aid of Durga Bhabhi. Durgavati Devi, Bhagwati Charan Vora and Bhagat Singh made the plan to bomb Delhi's Central Assembly during their stay in Calcutta. Bhagat Singh threw bombs and leaflets on April 8, 1929 inside the assembly with the fellow revolutionary Batukeshwar Dutt. Later, both of them offered themselves up for the arrest. Durgavati Devi and other HSRA members were left aligned, and their bombing activities were not welcomed by non-violent revolutionaries such as Mahatma Gandhi. When the activities of HSRA faced severe criticism from non-violent revolutionaries, Vora came under the close scrutiny of British Empire. The bomb factory of Vora was discovered by the police in Lahore. As a result, Vora went into hiding. This situation put the onus of managing the revolutionary activities on the shoulders of Durga Bhabhi. She acted as a medium, more or less an undercover postbox, to receive the mails of the fugitive revolutionaries and to deliver them to the concerned families. She started to head all the revolutionary activities by herself. One such daring attempt was to assassinate an ex-governor of Punjab, Lord Haley, who was very much against the revolutionaries. Although the attempt was unsuccessful, many associates of Lord Haley were harmed. In the same year, Durga Bhabhi did an unprecedented courageous deed, being a woman in early 20th century India, by shooting a British policeman and his wife on Leamington Road, South Bombay. The incident was quite surprising for British Empire, as they did not see Indian women in such a fiery role earlier. This event was described as the first instance in which a woman figured prominently in a terrorist outrage. For this daring attempt, she faced 3 years of imprisonment. In an unfortunate incident, Durga Devi lost her husband when he was trying a bomb on the banks of river Ravi as a part of planning to free Bhagat Singh and other revolutionaries by bombing the jail in which they were kept. But this incident did not dishearten Durga from following her revolutionary activities. Despite being a young widow and a single mother to her little son, she continued to work in the direction of freeing India from the slavery of the colonial rule. She led the protests, holding placards demanding the release of the revolutionaries under trial. In order to save the fearless trio's lives, she even pleaded with Gandhiji, but all in vain. She also sold her ornaments worth rupees 3,000 to rescue Singh and his comrades under trial. She also led the funeral procession of an unsung nationalist freedom struggle hero Jatin Das from Lahore to Calcutta when he died due to being on a 63-day hunger strike in jail. When all her fellow revolutionaries were serving jail term or were either killed, Durgavati Devi did not lose her spirit despite being a lonely widow. She visited Madras in 1939 in order to learn and receive training from Italy's pioneering educator Maria Montessori. After her training, she opened a school in Lucknow of her own. This was the first Montessori school that was opened in northern part of India. After opening the school for the underprivileged children in Lucknow, she continued to teach at Pyare Lal Girls School in Ghaziabad, Uttar Pradesh. So she strived to make the road to education an easy one for the people belonging to poor families. Moreover, Durgavati Devi donated her land for Shaheed Shodh Sansthan in Faizabad, Uttar Pradesh. In later years of her life, she lived an anonymous life in Lucknow and later in Ghaziabad to avoid any uninvited attention or scrutiny. Her story is quite unique from other freedom fighters because she lived the life of a common citizen despite being an active member in the revolutionary activities. Her funeral procession was not like the farewell of a freedom fighter, but as a common human because hardly anyone was aware of Durga Bhabi's past and her vital role in the freedom struggle of India. Although not many historians and filmmakers have recognized Durga Bhabhi as a major figure in the legacy of Indian independence movement, Rakesh Omprakash Mehra made a small reference to her character in his film Rang De Basanti in year 2006. Her part was played by Soha Ali Khan. Later in 2014, a non-fiction series, Adrishya, was made by the Epic Channel which showed Indian spies' real-life stories. The 7th episode of the television series is about Durga Bhabhi. Now, filmmakers are researching about the life of Durgavati Devi and many are interested in telling her story to the masses. There has been news that Thalaivi producer Vishnu Vardhan Induri is reportedly planning to make a film on the freedom fighter Durgavati Devi. To conclude, India's legacy of freedom is incomplete without giving unsung heroes their due credit. Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, India's 75th year of independence, has provided these hidden gems a platform to shine and write their story of struggle for the future generations. Durgavati Devi is an indispensable name in the history of Indian freedom struggle due to her belonging to a marginalized status in early 20th century India being a woman. Thus, the bravery of this daring woman cannot be left unsung. Her exceptional intelligence and gallantry deserves to be respected and acknowledged by the people of the nation. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello. So, dear friends, just our first paper is over. That was presented by Sanjana Palawat and Bindu Karnwal on the Durgavati Devi and unsung heroine of India freedom struggle. So, dear friends, now our paper is over. Now, just we are now requesting to second presenter of this session, Archana Swasi. Archana Swasi is there. Siege around.
Sir, I'll take over. Now I request Dr. Manjushri ma'am to come on the stage and present your paper.
I'll be talking about women in civil disobedience movement in Delhi during 1930-32. The title of my paper is Reconstructing Representation and Agency of Women Activists in the National Movement in Delhi, 1930 to 35. Published writings on this phase of the civil disobedience movement have marginalized the role of women and have failed to give insight into the true significance of women's contribution to the nationalist politics. In this paper, I have engaged with women's subjectivity and how women activists, in particular Srimati Satyavati, were in the forefront of the struggle. While locating women's participation in the public domain, we have to keep in view the social constraints that women faced in the 1930s. Public domain or politics was largely dominated and women's participation depended on the approval and support of the family. Women activities belonged to a society that believed in Parda and moving in women-only groups. Social practices such as Parda, sex segregation adversely impacted the outdoor movement, a necessity and a prerequisite for political participation. The purpose of my paper is to show how women during these 2 years, 1930-32, despite a heavy police repression, were able to come out of their homes and take a very active part in the freedom struggle. And surprisingly, if you look at the newspapers, the official documents of this period, you do find mention of these women activists, and they are all in praise of these women activists. And in fact, some of the official publications have gone to the extent of saying that they have not seen such a active women participation in defiance of the section 144 of the Police Act anywhere else in India as they saw in India. So you understand the urgency of why we should take up the role of women activists, particularly role of Srimati Satyavati Devi. So when civil disobedience movement was launched in 1930, it began with defiance of salt laws, boycott of foreign cloth and liquor, and promotion of Swadeshi. So as the movement gained in intensity from March 1930 onwards, the local authorities implemented laws to control all forms of disruptive activities. Why I need to mention this important part of police repression is to show that how despite all the police repression, despite imposing very heavy fines on women activists, still women came out and took a very active role. So much so, even a leader like Gandhi and many others were taken by surprise. They had not expected that women would really come up to their homes and play such a role. So I quickly go through some lines over police repression. Whenever meetings or processions were organized, the police quickly dispersed them by lathi charging, arresting the main leaders. Another way was to encircle the participants in a public meeting or a procession and physically remove them. Armored cart patrol was on standby at the Red Fort. Section 144 of the Criminal Procedure Code was enforced. Now this section 144 was, it involved that no assembly of people more than 5 people could take place. And here is another way of looking when such a section 144 is enforced, how women, they could move from mohalla to mohalla, from house to house, and propagate the messages of the nationalist leaders. Open confrontations with the police were bound to enthuse the people. According to an eyewitness, when women came to the streets, thousands came out to see what was happening, and the street demonstrations were bound to impact the British sense of self-assurance. There were instances when women activists acted as a barrier between the mounted policemen and the people who collected in protest meetings. This is very interesting what I'm going to tell you right now. One such incident took place on 23rd May 1930. A meeting was held at the clock tower in Chandni Chowk. It was a large gathering of nearly 5,000 people in defiance of section 144. When the police came to disperse the meetings, the main audience showed an inclination to melt away. Then, around 100 women activists formed a cordon around the meeting, and not a single person dared to leave the meeting. And in fact, there was a report which praised these women activists and further exhorted men to be inspired these women satyagrahis. It said, the way sisters had borne the beatings by lathis, it is the duty of every man to support their sisters with physical, mental, and financial resources. Then I have something to say. Very briefly, I'll say how women activists organized meetings in mohallas of the city. They pledged, they took pledges from people not to use foreign cloth. They prevented women from entering temples near the river Yamuna, women who were wearing foreign saris, foreign cloth, and or taking a bath in the river Yamuna. So what was the impact of these activities taken by women? It is stated that because of the activities taken by these women activists and Hindustan Seva Dal, Delhi Cloth Association had decided not to import foreign cloth. And then there was another report which said that because of these activities, women in Delhi had taken to wearing khadi saris, and in fact, they had 50% of women in Delhi had taken to khadi saris. Now, then there was this picketing of foreign liquor shops. Now, this is also very amazing because they were there at foreign liquor shops from 8 in the morning till 8 in the night, and sometimes even later in the night. And these women activities, they were sometimes, many times in fact, harassed by the goons sent by the liquor dealers. They were called names, they were called prostitutes and other things they were being called, but still they, okay, okay. Coming to the role of women activists like Satyavati, in the limited time that I'm given, I won't be able to say much about this, but a brief background of Srimati Satyavati was that she was the granddaughter of Swami Shraddhanand. Her mother, her two other sisters were also in the freedom struggle, and it was said that she was so violent in her speeches and so troublesome that it was necessary to arrest her. In fact, she was an extraordinary leader. She entered politics at the age of 23, remained active till her death at the age of 39. And during this period, she was imprisoned 11 times. Her husband's not in active politics, but she had the support of her husband. And the CID report of this time also gave instances when how Satyavati was involved with the activities of not just the Congress. She was involved in the activities of the revolutionaries. In fact, the speaker before me mentioned Durgavati, about the activities of Durgavati. She even arranged for arms for Durgavati at one point in time. So I would just conclude by saying few lines. I will say that much has been written about how Gandhi brought women into the freedom struggle, how he perceived the role of women in both the domestic sphere and public sphere. And a consensus in many of the writings is that Gandhi brought women into the freedom struggle, but at the same time, he stressed upon women's purity, honor, and homemaking responsibilities. So Gandhi would actually lay down rules that for political participation, only those women who had no family responsibilities could come forward and participate in the movement. But I would like to contend that this kind of interpretation of Gandhi undervalues the level of commitment and dedication that the women activists had shown during 1932. And just imagine, these women have come into the public sphere. They may have come into the public sphere with the support of their family, approval of their family, but when they took the decision to be seen in public, to attend meetings, to take part in processions, defy British laws, raised slogans, sang songs full of patriotic fervor, and more importantly, when they faced lathi charges, when they faced lathi charges and quoted imprisonment, some of them even went to jail number of times. How were their tactics very different from that of men activists? So in a way, they were taking independent decisions and taking on challenging roles. I'll just end by saying that they even went a step further. They were trying to upturn gender roles. You will ask me how? How was that happening? I've just mentioned about lathi charges. That is their parity with male activities. But they went a step further. And that step further is shaming men who hesitated in participating in the nationalist activities. According to this is my last submission here. According to an eyewitness, हिंदी में है, मैं हिंदी में पढ़ रही हूँ, वे चूड़ियाँ लेकर बाजार में ग्रुप बनाकर निकल जाती और आदमियों से कहती, तुम नौजवान हो, अच्छे खासे हो, ये देश की आज़ादी की लड़ाई है, जिसमें तुम अगर हिस्सा नहीं ले सकते हो तो ठीक है, तुम्हारी जगह हम ले लेंगे और तुम हमारी जगह ये चूड़ी पहन लो. इससे आदमी बड़े शर्मिंदा होते कि ये महिला हमें क्या कह गई. So, in a way, this was inversion of gender roles. I mean, normally you place women inside the home, but here women were being, not only being claiming to be equal partners in this historical struggle, but they were also willing to take up challenging roles. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That was very enlightening. Now I would like to invite Mr. N. Hanyub for his paper presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. The title of my paper is Rani Gaidinliu and Her Underground Life. So the introduction, who is Rani Gaidinliu? As a young girl, she grew up from a difficult, rugged hills and experienced the hardships. She sensed what is right and wrong and concerned about the loss of her freedom, which ultimately made her in a disposition to propel her to rise up and oppose against any kind of oppression and that oppresses her and the rights and freedoms. At the age of 13, she joined the Herakap movement, which was started by her cousin Haipauza Donang, which aims to establish self-rule and resist the conversion of foreign religion. The freedom fighter Rani Gaidinliu went underground 2 times, first from the British India during the 1930s, and second from the Naga Nationalist Council NNC in 1960s. So this paper attempts to lay out the narratives and the insights of the struggle Gaidin Liu and her people had to go through. Attempts have also been made to candidly highlight the nature of marginalization and oppression her people faced and how they are still facing today. Methodology. The methodology involves conducting unstructured interview and group discussion with the village elders and selected participants during the 2021 and early 2022. A qualitative method of analysis is employed. The secondary source of information and data incorporated in this paper are from the books and historical documents. The conception of movement and the trailblazing. Gaidin Liu was under the mentorship of Haipao Jadonang, and their movement gained popularity among the Zeliangrong Naga community, so much so that the British started to perceive it as a significant threat to them. And Jadonang was sentenced to death under the false accusation in 1931. To ensure that the movement of Jadonang does not die down and go in vain, Gaidin Liu took up the role of command. From April 1931, she took up the responsibility and led the rebellion movement by moving from village to village in the Zeliangrong area and trailblazing the idea of rebellion. Her movement was concentrated in the western Tamenglong area, North Kachar Hills, and southern Naga Hills. She started her own version of non-cooperation movement by instructing the villagers to abstain from paying taxes to the British. She popularized the idea of national movement and the efforts of Mahatma Gandhi in the region. She composed a song that is in local Rongmai dialect, Haipo Gandhi Puna Haiguang Lemkhang Pati Kezo, meaning, Gandhi, my lord, come and be your king, come soon. This song became an anthem and a chant during this time. So the hunt, the entire operational area of Gaidin Liu were kept in check in search of her under the supervision of J.P. Mills, the then Deputy Commissioner of Naga Hills. Her photos were widely circulated throughout the Zeliangrong region. Any girls that bears the name Gaidin Liu in the region were not spared from thorough scrutiny. And the situation became so intense that Gaidin Liu herself made her name change to Dilian Liu for some time. An offer of rupees 200 was announced to the villagers or anyone giving the information of her whereabouts, and later raised the offer up to rupees 500 along with an offer of tax remission for 10 years to any village providing the information about her. But Gaidin Liu remained elusive. Her secret hideouts remained secret and well protected by her people. Meanwhile, an attempt of eluding her captors were made to the extent that she possesses a supernatural power that can make her appear at a dozen of places at the same time that baffled the straining troops. However, this atmosphere of mystery was a deliberate effort of Masang, her trusted agent, a capable commander who maintained the network of spies and a mastermind of maintaining the aura of myth in the surrounding of Gaidin Liu to create a deceptive impression to befool the British. In her secret hideouts, the cave in Mount Kisa of Magulong village, that is present-day Tausem subdivision, Manipur, was the secret place of her refuge. The local considered Mount Kisa as a sacred place where no strangers were allowed to pay a visit. In the history of Magulong, Gaidin Liu was the first whom in great honor they have shown it to her and made it hard to stay. They maintained the secrets well with utmost sincerity and dignity. The mountain clearly was a strong strategic point for the hideouts, and so also Gaidin Liu's sense of utilizing it meticulously. While one of the troops of her army were camping at the top of Mount Kisa that maintains as a protective first layer outpost, the second layer was posted in the first cave, also the biggest cave, with a sentry point bunker built at the narrowest point of the entrance that gave access to the entire cave therein. The cave where Gaidin Liu actually stationed was considered as the core of protection, which is in the middle of the precipice of the entire mountain. The ration and other supports were all provided by the nearby villages for free of cost in the camp, and there was no salary or allowance. The armies do not have any uniform as such in dress. There was no medical support, and most of all, only few hold guns, and due to that, in many cases, they faces a lot of challenges. But the spirit didn't die as yet, despite of so many limitations. Now moving forward to Puilua and her arrest. On 17 October 1931, she left Mount Kisa and started camping at Puilua, present-day Nagaland. Moving towards Puilua was a well-organized strategy to attack the Kohima outpost. She planned that by the fall of November, which will be a time when the harvest season is over, more men can spare their time to join the army from the surrounding Zeliangrong villages for the attack. Under the instruction of Gaidin Liu, the wooden fortress was under construction. She asserted her followers that the next 2 months will be a crucial time, for that will be the time to decide who will win, either me, either she, or the British. On the 17th of October 1932, while the fortress was under construction, the rebels were caught on the hop by a surprise attack of Captain N. MacDonald. Gaidin Liu was captured and taken to Imphal for trial in the court of political agent Mr. Higgins, and she was sentenced for life imprisonment. She was barely a 17-year-old teenage girl then. She spent in jail for 14 years until she was released after the independence of India in 1947. After the independence of India, for propagating her movement, that is Heraka movement, and her demand for separate Zeliangrong district under the Union of India, she was branded as the persecutor of Christians and anti-Nagas, and her life was threatened by the underground elements of Naga Nationalist Council. And she was even arrested and threatened at a gunpoint to surrender her freedom fighter title given by the government of India. Her life was threatened, and she have decided to go back underground. The only place she could think of her safety is Mount Kisa cave of Magulong once again. In late 1960s, she fled back to Mount Kisa once again. It is yet another fight similar to her previous anti-British resistance. The only difference this time was the approach. Upon leaving her village to Mount Kisa, she left a letter to her villagers, that is Nongkau villagers, that contains today I'm going underground, not because of the Indian government, but because of NNC. The NNC, their fight was to finish off any obstacles or irritant that comes along their way to achieve their goals of complete sovereignty as independent Naga nation. But for Gaidin Liu, it was a fight to have a separate district or a statehood for Zeliangrong and to defend her cultural identity against anyone, whether they came in the form of British colonialism or the hegemonistic approach of NNC. Due to limited time, I will skip some parts. She was again at Mount Kisa, and those details I'll not repeat. Comes overground. She comes back to overground. In 1966, Gaidin Liu came overground after signing the agreement between Nagaland government represented by Kohima DC, SC Dev, and her party. Her key demands on this particular event was separate district for Zeliangrong, along with 2,000 soldiers from Zeliangrong district to fight for the country. Present state of Zeliangrong people and the marginalization. The question of marginalization and state of suppressive situation to the Zeliangrong people can be traced back to the treatment as colonial subject by the respective state government, Assam, Manipur, and Nagaland. Rani Gaidin Liu raised the same question many a times on this regard. She once said on her memorandum that her people were an unwanted children in the eyes of state administration, that various steps were supplemented to keep them illiterate, uncivilized, half-naked, and half-starved. Various suppressive measures were taken to keep her people in the best possible way to be isolated from this mainstream communities. And there was no no English middle school for Jeme of NC Hills, despite having a population of 20,541 until 1971. The Zeliangrong population of Assam, Manipur, and Nagaland were pushed by the boundary to live in the interiors of the state, amounted with a least connectivity and other means that can deprive them from all the opportunities to be on the same footing and status at par with the communities, with other communities in the states. In conclusion, the two phases of her going underground clearly signify that she stood firmly on her original idea, that is, freedom from injustice and freedom from dilution of identity. But this movement of reformation turns out to be paid heavily by her and her people. And she is one of the pioneers who fought all her life against any form of injustice, oppression, and exploitation. But till today, her people are yet to be truly free from all these bondages. Her people are still divided by the artificial boundaries, fragmented and secluded from gaining political power, and systematically marginalized and discriminated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. N. Now, all the papers were very enlightening. Now, I would like our chair and co-chair to conclude this session with their wise words. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. Respected organizer of this conference, all members of the organizing committee, and the sponsor of this conference, SSF, Department of Commerce, Delhi School of Economics, and main organizing Department of Political Science, SPM College, University of Delhi. And respected co-chair, Preeta Harit, all the respected honorable audience, presenters, and dear friends. The key word of this conference, that is the marginalized, inclusion, freedom, and contribution. These four words indicate much more. If we go into the detail of the title of this conference, it indicates that in present context, the title of this conference is fully valid and timely needed. If suppose today just we are going to organize a conference on the marginalization and inclusion, it means something is missing there on the part of ourselves, and we are the fully responsible for that. Why today we are conducting the conference on marginalization and inclusions? It means there is a particular segment of society which has been excluded, which has not been mentioned in the text and the publications. Dear friends, as far as the contribution is concerned, it is the matter of the fact the nationalist movement for the independent India witnessed the significant and large participations from different part of the country, from different segments of the society, irrespective caste, class, region, religion, and socio-economic backwardness, and many more. There were many heroes. Today, we are calling unsung hero. Like, for example, we can say that we know only few. Even today, I knew the many more new names which I never heard in the 50 years of my life. It means I'm responsible, that I'm ignorant, but my seniors, academicians, are more responsible because they have not written their name, their contribution, who have given their life for today. Dear friends, today we are enjoying a large number of comforts, infrastructure, facilities, and luxurious. How? Because they have sacrificed their life for today. And because of them, today we are enjoying. It means if you make a comparison, what they have given to the country and what we are giving to the country, there will be a big watershed big, big difference. They sacrificed their life only for giving the democracy to the country. They wanted to see the free India. And that is why, because of their hardships they faced, their struggle they have done, they sacrificed their all benefits. They have given the India of today. But dear friends, I feel personally, I am fully responsible that to this society, to this nation, I am not giving anything else. If I suppose assess myself, what I am giving to the country, what is my contribution to the nation building, what is my contribution to the societal development, what is my contribution to environmental management, it will be considered zero. Only writing few publications, that's not matter at all. There should be full-fledged contributions on the ground itself. Dear friends, we always undermine the role of our hero and heroines. Among the several freedom fighters, there was also a segment of society that was known, that is the marginalized section of society, which includes scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, backward castes, minorities, the people with special needs, elderly peoples, and women's, above that the women's. The role of the women's for achieving the freedom was a very significant role. If we go into the detail, we will find there were certain female which belong to the marginalized section of society, like Koili, Jalkara Bai, Putli Bai Podar, Savitri Bai Phule, Uda Devi, and many more. Today I am feeling very, I can say that today I feel very shameful for me. It's a very simple for me that I was even not aware of the names who have given their life for me. So dear friends, I feel I am fully responsible for that. But no matter at all, now it's our duty. We should give our contributions to bring them into in the form of the publications, in text, in black and white, so that our coming generation can know about that. Today we are passing through our United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and just we are having on 8 years hand. I am fully doubtful that we will achieve all our 17 SDG. If we have to achieve all 17 SDG, we have to take together every segment of society for the inclusive India, resilient India, and for sustainable India. Because today our country is facing a lots of socio-economic, political, and environmental problems. And now responsibility comes on our shoulder to give our contributions, because we having our motive and achieve कि भारत विश्व गुरु होना चाहिए. विश्व गुरु होने से पहले हमें बहुत सेक्रीफाइस करना होगा अपने आप में. आज हम उनको बहुत केवल hardly we remember once or twice in a year of our freedom fighters. Maybe on 15th, on the Independence Day and on Republic Day. What about other days of the year? Today, try to assess yourself. What is your contribution to the present day India? Hardly it will be considered that there is a significant contribution, not at all. Dear friends, now it's our duty just to give our best so that in coming times we can achieve many more milestones. No doubt, this year, which is considered as the 75th year, Azadi Ka Mahotsav, in last 75 years, we have made many records in various fields and different sectors. And I'm fully sure years are not very far. when India will be the regional superpower within the South Asia. Not world power, but 100% sure it will be regional superpower within the South Asia. And in many spheres, we are giving tough competition to the world communities. But as some people are saying that see your index of poverty, gender inequality, and development, but there may be a question mark. They have adopted their own methodology. I'm fully sure that we are having a certain problems and issues in our country, but we are not at zero. Try to be understand, you are more than 17% population of the world, and our land is feeling very high pressure. Our carrying capacity is going down day by day. But if we adopt the model of sustainable development, we can give the sustainable future of the country itself by adopt the sustainable strategies. So in different fields, in different areas, we have to give our contributions. Today I feel there must be full-fledged special volume of the research paper, review paper and chapters on the marginalized section of society and their contribution for achieving the independence, so that our coming generation, our coming students and children can know about them, their contributions, their struggle. And apart from that, there is also a dire need to start and launch a course at UG level. Even I was also the member of Value Addition Committee in University of Delhi, National Education Policy. I have given a suggestions to bring a special course on the contributions of Vanchit group, Adivashi group, for the maintaining the cultural development of the country, because it is only marginalized section who is maintaining our culture, who is giving their socio-economic contributions for the country itself. So dear friends, conference it's okay, it's the academic contributions, but apart from that, we should also try give our best contributions in different fields. Maybe in the, you can say the financial sectors, maybe in academic sector, political sector, environmental sector, or about that social sector, so that we can achieve our motto and the goal कि भारत विश्व गुरु होना चाहिए. So dear friends, without taking so much time, I would like to say that today it's a need of the hour to think about a particular section of the society who have sacrificed their life only for your today. And today we are using and experiencing various comforts and luxurious. So try to be understand their contributions. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite Srimati Preeta Harit ma'am to conclude the session.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you. It's a post-lunch session, so I can understand. We all are tired here, but that doesn't mean that we are lacking in spirit to discuss the subject of today's seminar. As Dr. Anand said, the keywords are marginalization, marginalized communities, their inclusion in the struggle for freedom. That is the subject matter of the seminar. I am grateful to the organizers, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee College, Social Service Foundation, Delhi School of Economics and Delhi University. They have organized this great subject. This is a matter of real discussion, and it's not first time. I think we have been celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav since last year, 75th year of the freedom. आज़ादी के 75वें वर्ष में आज हम इस स्थिति में आए हैं कि हम देश में उन लोगों की चर्चा कर रहे हैं जिन्होंने अपने जीवन दान देकर, अपने एक जीवन ही तो होता है, जीने के मरने के बाद तो हम खत्म ही हो जाते हैं, तो अपने जीवन उत्सर्ग करके जिन्होंने हमें आज़ादी दिलाई, आज आज़ादी के 75वें वर्ष में दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी के इस प्रांगण में, शिक्षा के सर्वोच्च मंदिर में मुझे जो गर्व का, जो आभार का अनुभव हो रहा है, मैं उसके लिए बहुत कृतज्ञ हूँ। और एक बार मैं अपने दिल से इस बात को स्पष्ट कर देना चाहती हूँ कि ये एक दिन की लड़ाई नहीं थी, ये एक दिन की लड़ाई नहीं थी, ये कुछ लोगों की लड़ाई नहीं थी। हमें दिखाया गया जैसे कि हमारे घर में 10 कमरे हैं और हम एक ही कमरे में बैठे रहें और ये सोचे कि हमारा एक ही कमरा है। हम एक कमरे में रहते रहे और हमें ये अंदाज नहीं था कि हम 10 कमरों वाले घर के मालिक हैं। यानी कि जब आज़ादी मिली तो आज़ादी को लेने से के संघर्ष में देश इतना बड़ा है, उत्तर है, दक्षिण है, पूरब है, पश्चिम है, और हर भाषा के लोग हैं, हर जाति के लोग हैं, हर वर्ग के लोग हैं, महिलाएं हैं। उन्होंने अपना जीवन उत्सर्ग दिया, संघर्ष किया, अपने परिवारों को छोड़ा, तब जाके हमें ये आज़ादी मिली थी। It is a matter of pride and honor for us to discuss these unsung heroes are our nation's freedom struggle today. हम सब इस देश का हिस्सा हैं। समाज के सभी जाति के, धर्म के, वर्ग के लोग, महिलाएं भी देश के स्वाधीनता संग्राम में विदेशी शासन के विरुद्ध मिलकर लड़े थे और देश और समाज के निर्माण में सभी ने बढ़ चढ़ के हिस्सा लिया था। आज हम उन सबको आज हम स्वीकार कर रहे हैं, सिर्फ स्वीकार नहीं कर रहे हैं, हम उनके बारे में जानने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। हम उनके संघर्ष से हम द्रवित हैं, हम हृदय तक सराबोर हैं, कृतज्ञ हैं। उसी कृतज्ञता को प्रकट करने के लिए इस सेमिनार का आयोजन आपने जो किया है, एक बहुत बड़ा संदेश समाज को देने जा रहे हैं। और ये जो संदेश है, ये मुझे विश्वास है कि आगे आने वाले कल, यानी कि अमृत महोत्सव की शुरुआत हुई है। देश आज़ाद 1947 में हुआ था। जब 2047 का वर्ष आएगा तब देश को आज़ाद हुए 100 बरस हो चुके होंगे। और आज 75वें वर्ष में हम उन वीरांगनाओं की, वारांगनाओं, इंग्लिश का शब्द मिला दिया मैंने, जिन्होंने लड़ाई में हिस्सा लिया, उन बच्चों की, अभी रानी गाइडिनल्यू जो सिर्फ 13 बरस की थी, 16 बरस की थी, जब उनको आजीवन कारावास हो गया था, उन्होंने कितना संघर्ष किया था। माता सावित्रीबाई फूले थी, जिन्होंने बच्चियों की शिक्षा के लिए सबसे शुरुआत की थी, पहली शुरुआत इस देश की, सबसे पहले स्कूल उन्होंने खोले थे। और उन्होंने जो संघर्ष किया था, आज उस संघर्ष को यदि हम नहीं याद करेंगे तो कौन याद करेगा। मगर अफसोस इस बात का है कि 75 साल निकल गए, हमें आज भी नहीं मालूम। हम ये समझते रहे कि देश को आज़ादी जो दिलाई थी वो कुछ चंद अंग्रेजी पढ़े लोगों ने, विदेशों से पढ़कर आए लोगों ने दिलाई थी, या कुछ वकीलों ने दिलाई थी, जैसे कि सुबह की सभा में भी चर्चा हुई थी, या कुछ राजाओं महाराजाओं ने दिलाई थी, रानियों ने दिलाई थी। ऐसा नहीं है। जितना योगदान उनका है उतना ही योगदान, बल्कि उससे भी कहीं ज्यादा योगदान उन अनजाने, अनकहे, जिनका कभी जिक्र भी नहीं हुआ, ऐसे योद्धाओं का है, वीरांगनाओं का है। रानी लक्ष्मीबाई का नाम हमने बचपन से पढ़ा, बचपन से हमने कविता में, सुभद्रा कुमारी चौहान की कविता में हमने सुना कि रानी लक्ष्मीबाई खूब लड़ी मर्दानी, वो तो झांसी वाली रानी थी। लेकिन रानी के साथ जिन्होंने अपना आत्मोत्सर्ग किया मात्र 27 साल की उम्र में, वो झलकारी बाई थी। और झलकारी बाई एक महिला, दलित महिला थी, एक गरीब महिला थी, और रानी से हूबहू शक्ल मिलने के कारण उन्होंने रानी को रानी बनकर बचाया और खुद अंग्रेजों से लोहा लिया और अपनी जान गंवा दी। ये संघर्ष आज उनको याद दिलाने के लिए यदि हम अपनी इतनी सी भूमिका नहीं निभा सकते कि हम उनके संघर्ष से गौरवान्वित हों और हम आगे आने वाली पीढ़ियों को यदि संदेश न दे सकें तो फिर हम उनके साथ अन्याय कर रहे होंगे। बाबा साहब डॉक्टर अंबेडकर ने कहा था कि जो कौम अपना इतिहास नहीं जानती वो इतिहास नहीं बना सकती। हमें अपना इतिहास जानना होगा। और ये कौम जो मैं आज जिस कौम की बात कर रही हूँ वो कौम कोई जाति विशेष नहीं, कोई धर्म विशेष के लोग नहीं, हमारा पूरा देश, हम इस देश में एक सामाजिक समरसता के आंगन में जीते हैं। जिस तरह से एक बाग में अलग अलग फल होते हैं, फूल होते हैं, पेड़ होते हैं, अलग रंग के पत्ते होते हैं, उसी तरह से ये देश है। इस सभी भाषाओं को बोलने वाले लोग हैं, सभी धर्मों को मानने वाले लोग हैं, सभी वर्ग के लोग हैं। और जब अंग्रेजों ने, विदेशियों ने देश पर आक्रमण किया और विदेशियों ने देश की अर्थव्यवस्था को, सामाजिक व्यवस्था को, राजनीतिक व्यवस्था को पूरी तरह से कब्जे में कर लिया, उस समय सब एक हो गए। चाहे हम घर के अंदर कैसे भी थे, लेकिन सबसे पहले अंग्रेजों को मार भगाना था। उनको मार भगाने के लिए खास तौर पे समाज के निचले पायदान पर रहने वाले लोग, वंचित लोग, तथाकथित पिछड़े हुए लोग, वो पिछड़े नहीं थे, उनको पिछाड़ा गया था, पछाड़े हुए लोग, उन्होंने संघर्ष किया। मेहनत कश थे, मेहनत कर सकते थे, योद्धा प्रवृत्ति के लोग थे। उनको वंचित समझ के, उनको वंचित करार देकर लाइमलाइट से दूर रखा गया, उनको मार्जिनलाइज कह करके उनको मार्जिनलाइज कर दिया गया। तो मैं आज इस मंच के आयोजकों को इस बात का श्रेय देना चाहती हूँ कि ये बहुत ही सीरियस और बहुत ही सेंसिटिव ये उन्होंने जो विषय चुना है, ये निश्चय ही इस सभा को, यहाँ सुनने वाले हर व्यक्ति को इस संदेश को पूरे देश में ले जाने के लिए मजबूर करेगा। और 2047 में जब हम आज़ादी के 100 वर्ष पूरे कर रहे होंगे, मेरा यह विश्वास है कि जो संघर्षकर्ता अधूरे रह गए हैं, जिनके नाम हमें याद नहीं, हम किसी भी गली में चले जाएं, देश के किसी भी राज्य में चले जाएं, कहीं भी चले जाएं, कहीं ना कहीं कोई ना कोई इतिहास जरूर छुपा होगा। ये सिर्फ मेरी जिम्मेदारी नहीं है, ये सिर्फ मंच की जिम्मेदारी नहीं है, ये आपकी भी जिम्मेदारी है कि हम अपने इतिहास को खोज निकालें, अपने आसपास से, अपने पड़ोस से, अपने गांव से, अपने नगर से, शहर से, जिले से, राज्य से, और उसको हम भारत सरकार की नज़रों में लाएं। ये भारत सरकार का बहुत ही अच्छा अनूठा कदम है कि जो संघर्षकर्ता, जो अधूरे रह गए, जिनका कभी जिक्र तक नहीं आया, उनको आज हम चर्चा में ला रहे हैं, उनकी हम गौरव गाथा लिख रहे हैं। और मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि आने वाले समय में हमारी पाठ्य पुस्तकों में, स्कूल की किताबों में उनका चर्चा होगा, उनको जिक्र किया जाएगा, उनको गौरवान्वित किया जाएगा, और आने वाले बच्चे, आने वाली पीढ़ियां उससे बहुत कुछ सीखेंगी, ये मैं मानती हूँ। और हम अपनी इतिहास को पढ़ पढ़ के आने वाले भविष्य में इतिहास की रचना कर रहे होंगे। दादाजी ने जूते बनाए, पिताजी ने पहली बार पढ़ाई की, और बाबा साहब डॉक्टर अंबेडकर के संपर्क में आए। इसके बाद ही मैं आज आपके सामने स्थिति में खड़ी हूं। तो जब बाबा साहब डॉक्टर अंबेडकर के विचारों से अवगत हुए तो हमने जाना कि हमारी जाति क्या थी, हमारा संघर्ष क्या था, और उस संघर्ष को करते करते यही बात आपको मैं कहना चाहती हूं कि जो संघर्ष हमारे पुरखों ने किया, 3 जनरेशन के, अभी पिछले मंच पर सभी बैठे थे, उधम सिंह जी के, मंगू राम जी के और नागड़ा जी के, जो हमारे फ्रीडम फाइटर्स हैं, उनके 3 पीढ़ियों के लोग यहाँ पे आके बैठे थे। सोचिए कि उनके मन में कितना दर्द होगा। ये सिर्फ 5 या 7 लोग नहीं हैं, 500, 700, 5 लाख व्यक्ति होंगे इस देश में। हमें उनको जाकर उनसे संपर्क साधना चाहिए, उनको उनकी एक हिस्ट्री बनानी चाहिए, उनको इतिहास की किताबों में शामिल करना चाहिए, क्योंकि इतिहास हम सब ने मिलकर बनाया है। ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि सिर्फ कुछ ही लोगों ने इतिहास बनाया है, बल्कि ये कह सकते हैं कि निर्णायक कुछ लोग रहे, क्योंकि उनकी निर्णय क्षमता में शायद कुछ न कुछ बात रही होगी, इसलिए उन्होंने बहुत सारे लोगों को नकार दिया, नज़रअंदाज कर दिया। लेकिन अब वक्त नहीं है नकारने का और नज़रअंदाज करने का। अब मार्जिनलाइज्ड लोगों को, जो हाशिए पर पड़ी हुई जो हमारी इतिहास है, हमारी हिस्ट्री है, उसको हमें मुख्य धारा में लाना है। और भारत सरकार के आज़ादी के अमृत महोत्सव के इस अवसर पर मुख्य धारा के साथ चलते चलते मेरा पूर्ण विश्वास है कि अगले आने वाले 25 वर्ष में हम इतिहास की किताबों को फिर से लिखेंगे और उसमें देश के किसी भी कोने में हो, कोई भी भाषा भाषी हो, किसी भी जाति के हों, उन सभी को हम शामिल करेंगे और इतिहास को की पुनर्रचना करके देश को गौरवान्वित करेंगे। बहुत धन्यवाद। नमस्कार।
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your wise words. With this now, we now disperse the session. Thank you, everyone.